Excellent customer service is very important.
Customers want to feel that you respect them, that you are there for them.
Just making sure the customer is satisfied.
I like the fact that I can communicate personally, not just over the phone.
At the end of the day, they know that they have that one person they can actually call on.
You want to treat that person how you would want to be treated.
We work 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. I try to make every experience a wow experience for the customer.
A hurricane warning remains in effect for the central and northwest Bahamas. The U.S. Coast Guard on the hunt for a cargo ship reported missing off Crooked Island, plus a former F&M candidate charged in connection with the BEC bribe controversy. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Topping news tonight, Hurricane Joaquin has been downgraded from a Category 4 to a Category 3, but a hurricane warning remains in effect for the central Bahamas and the northwest Bahamas as the extremely dangerous Joaquin continues to move across the country. Maximum sustained winds are near 130 miles per hour, while heavy rainfall could result in life-threatening flash floods over the central and southeast Bahamas. The Met Department also warns a very dangerous and life-threatening storm surge will likely raise water levels by as much as 6 to 12 feet above normal tide levels in the central Bahamas. Senior government officials met for 3 hours at the office of the Prime Minister today to track Joaquin's movements and prepare to render assistance to residents on the impacted islands. They're expecting the Bahamas to be clear of this storm by 10 a.m. tomorrow. Vanik Toot reports.
As Hurricane Joaquin continues to batter some parts of the Bahamas, members of the Christie cabinet met with leaders of the various government agencies here at the office of the Prime Minister today to reach out to local government officials on the impacted islands and to prepare a disaster relief plan.
We did this because we wanted to ensure that we were fully prepared to meet whatever is necessary once we have the opportunity to ascertain the current conditions in the aftermath of the impacts on Acklands and Crooked Island and on the islands that are currently now being subjected to 130 miles an hour force winds, Category 4 hurricane.
For nearly 3 hours, senior government officials met to track Hurricane Joaquin's movements, determine its impact on the southeastern and central islands, and to discuss how best to provide relief for those impacted. However, Prime Minister Christie admitted that limited communication with officials on islands like Crooked Island, Long Island, and Acklands made it very difficult. He revealed that there was no communication with officials on Acklands for several hours on Thursday and Friday, and government officials lost communication with Crooked Island last evening.
When we have an experience of there being no communication, we have to be very, very concerned about it. At the end of the day, notwithstanding law, right, the political directorate will have to carry the responsibility for what hasn't happened or what has happened incorrectly.
As government officials met today, Hurricane Joaquin was bombarding San Salvador, Rum Cay, and nearby islands. Director of the National Emergency Management Agency, Stephen Russell, says because the dangerous Category 4 storm is still moving relatively slow, those islands would be under the gun for several hours.
The Met Department has advised us that sometime by tomorrow, 10 a.m., if all goes well, the Bahamas should be clear of this particular system, and we are hopeful that this does occur, that the system is clear of the Bahamas as of 10 a.m., 12 p.m. tomorrow, and that'll be a good sign for us.
Russell says there have been no reports of death or injury. However, a number of homes and buildings have been destroyed. NEMA's director says officials have already identified teams and are working to get them out to the impacted islands as soon as possible.
Plans are well in motion to provide some immediate response to all persons in the affected areas. As soon as practical, we will try and get reconnaissance aircraft or helicopters with the assistance of some of our partners into those disaster areas, particularly those critical areas where we're getting some reports of persons trapped or in distress. We are mindful of the areas of Acklands and Crooked Island, Meguana, and even in Nagua, that they would have been under the gun for almost 3 to 4 days. And until this system is all clear and relief supplies can get to the islands, they can very well be almost as much as 5 days.
Russell says NEMA also hopes to begin damage assessment by Sunday.
We have a number of aircraft on stream that we'll seek to charter. We'll have members from the Prime Minister and his the Advisory Council of NEMA. They'll travel into those disaster-stricken areas so we can do get an updated or bird's eye view of the state of damages in the islands.
Prime Minister Christie says he expects the dangerous hurricane to have a substantial impact on the country's infrastructure.
Therefore, a major requirement on the part of the central government to be able to restore the status quo and to be able to bring our people back to the standard that they were used to. The government is prepared and we are ready to move into those areas.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.
As Hurricane Joaquin lingers, officials here in New Providence have had great difficulty reaching out to local government officials and residents on Crooked Island, Acklands, and Long Island. As a result, they were only able to communicate with officials with satellite phones. CEO of the Bahamas Telecommunications company, Leon Williams, suggested that in those areas where there have been disruptions in power supply, phone services would be disrupted as well. He also revealed that BTC lost a cell tower and its roof blew off in Crooked Island. The BTC CEO also noted that most of their fiber optic cables on the Family Islands are on poles, meaning if those poles were damaged, then the fiber optic communication cables would be down.
So far, so good. We've had just a single report of a cable station being damaged in Crooked Island. The roof was blown off, so the cable equipment has been exposed to water. And that poses a challenge for us. We lost a tower, I think in Crooked Island, and then we've had some staff with roof damage. Our difficulty, however, is that we are not able, like BEC, to get our staff out because it is not safe at this time. We're waiting for the all clear.
Williams says teams are on standby and will be mobilized as soon as possible. He said BTC has also decided to credit the cell phones of impacted residents.
We made a decision yesterday that for those persons in the affected area, BTC would be crediting and putting some money onto their cell phones. So as soon as the cell phone comes operational, the phones for those areas that have been affected, BTC will credit those cell phones with additional funds.
Meantime, high winds in the southeastern and central islands impacted the Bahamas Electricity Corporation's overhead lines and damaged poles, plunging residents into darkness. BC officials reported widespread power outages on Inagua, Meguana, Acklands, Crooked Island, Long Island, and San Salvador. Officials also received reports of outages in parts of Exuma and Cat Island, as well as roof damage to its building in San Salvador. General Manager Kevin Baisden said one of their greatest challenges has been it is unsafe for BEC crews to carry out repairs because the storm is moving so slowly.
So we do have some down power lines in some of the islands. We do have instances where poles need to be changed. However, a full assessment needs to be carried out, and that cannot be done until the all clear is issued and it's safe to work. We do know, based on reports received, that the power station building in San Salvador does have some roof damage, and so we would also have to examine that.
Baisden says teams in New Providence are on standby and will travel to impacted islands to conduct assessments and render assistance as soon as possible. He says CARELEC, the Association of Electrical Utilities for the Caribbean, is also on standby if additional manpower is needed. Police have received no reports of serious injuries or death as a result of the storm, according to Police Commissioner Ellison Greenslade, who told reporters very competent police officers are on the ground in all the affected Family Island communities and are working closely with the other agencies.
Our people always rise to the occasion. So far, we've had no reports of any serious injuries or death, but I can assure you based on my experiences and what we know of our people, they'll do the best that they can to hold the line until we can get them the required support that they need in the next few hours.
Defense Force Commander Tellis Bethel said his troops have been given notice to stand by for deployment to the affected family islands once the weather subsides to assist the community.
Once our troops arrive, we intend to engage with immediate assistance of the road clearing, harbor clearing, repair of buildings and facilities. We'll also be assisting with the restoration of essential utilities and also to provide assistance with distribution of goods and supplies.
The Ministry of Tourism Command Center was activated at the British Colonial Hilton on Wednesday to ensure that visitors to the Bahamas are safe and to assist them in returning home as soon as possible. Director General Joy Gibralou said there are currently 520 tourists on the family islands, including those battered by Hurricane Joaquin.
We had 2 guests on Mayaguana, 10 guests in Long Island, 20 guests in Inagua, 197 in Exuma, 6 on the island of Eleuthera, 6 on Crooked Island, 8 in Cat Island, 218 in Bimini, 26 in South Andros, 6 in Central Andros, 1 on Acklins, 18 in Abaco. And that's a total of 520 visitors on our family islands.
Gibralou said 4 tourists are staying in designated shelters on Georgetown at Zuma for precautionary reasons. Here in New Providence, 3 cruise ships scheduled to arrive today have been diverted.
We know that 3 cruise ships were expected to arrive today and have been diverted. One of the cruise ships that was due to arrive today, in fact, is now calling on Freeport instead. So the Bahamas has not lost that ship, rather it's being diverted to Freeport, but the other 2 have been diverted elsewhere.
She said the command center will remain open until the storm passes. When MB12 returns, a crew of 33 missing at sea after their cargo ship takes on water in the eye of the hurricane. Stay with us.